Welcome to the What Sleep podcast, where we talk about all things crime, conspiracy, paranormal, and mystery. I'm Timothy,
I'm Bailey.
and let's get right into it. Okay, now, I assume you know about the Zodiac Killer, right?
I don't know anybody who doesn't.
Fair enough. uh, so, to kind of kick this episode off, I do have a little bit of a quote for you, and this does come from one of the Zodiac's letters that he did send to many of the different newspaper
Gross.
people. And it goes, I quote, I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. Something gives me the most thrilling experience it is, even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and those I have killed will become my slaves.
Okay.
I will not give you my name because you'll try to slow down or stop my collection of slaves for the afterlife.
What's wrong with him?
So
That is a gross quote.
it is. He is a very deranged individual.
Gotta say, I don't. Anyway.
Yeah. Very
Didn't like
menacing
that.
quote.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives you a bit of a look into this person. So to kick it off, we'll talk about the night of December 20th, 1968.
All right.
Where 17-year-old David Faraday and his 16-year-old girlfriend Betty Lou Jensen went to Lake Herman Road in Vallejo, California, where at around 11:15 p.m. they were approached by a figure who began to shoot at the station wagon in an attempt to get them out of the car. Jensen exited the front passenger door, followed by Faraday. Faraday was shot as he emerged from the car, and Jensen was then shot as she fled on foot.
What?
David was shot once in the head at point-blank range and died minutes later, and Betty Lou Jensen was shot 5 times in the back and was killed instantly.
That's crazy. Why would you ever get out of your car? That's
Well,
like
you
one of
start
those.
getting shot at, you
Drive faster.
Well,
I'm not
they were
trying to
parked.
victim blame, but
They were parked.
put it in drive.
I guess in that kind of situation, you really can't
I
think
guess.
properly.
Yeah,
You're sitting there chilling, you see some dude come up, and all of a sudden start getting shot at. I don't know how I'd
That's
react.
insane. Yeah, I guess I don't know.
A little bit of a side note that I found. This was found. Pretty much all of this information was found on the ZodiacKiller.com.
Okay.
Which is literally just this huge group who just tries to continue to try and solve this serial killer and
It's
try to
what,
find things.
60 years old at this point, the case?
50, I think.
50?
52, something like that.
Yeah.
But they got some crazy information. They have police records, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's
lots
awesome.
of information.
Yeah.
The weapon used was a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol using Winchester Western Super X copper-coated long rifle ammo.
Wow.
That's how much information they have.
Dang.
And there's actually video of the scene of this murder, which I'm not going to show because it's pretty disturbing.
Graphic, I'm sure.
Yeah. So Faraday and Jensen are traditionally considered definite Zodiac victims. There have been many other suspects in the case because even to this day, the Zodiac Killer has never been found.
Okay, so like suspected victims?
Yeah. So between the times of the Zodiac killings, there's been lots of people trying to mimic
really?
the Zodiac Killer.
That's so gross.
The Zodiac Killer really only ever took credit for 4 of the main cases, which we'll talk about here.
Okay.
There's a bunch of others that, this whole thing is just really messed up because people were sending letters to all these news outlets too, talking about, oh, I'm the Zodiac Killer and all this stuff.
False confessions.
Essentially, yeah.
Just to muddy the waters, and now we're never gonna know.
Yeah. So it's really hard. All the ones I'm gonna be talking about today are the ones that are confirmed to be Zodiac's victims. In the early 1990s, former Vallejo Police Department Detective John Lynch said the couple was killed because Faraday had learned of a major drug deal and had been talking openly about who was involved.
The woman?
Uh,
Faraday?
Faraday,
Was that
I
the
believe that is the man. Yeah, that's the dude.
Oh, okay.
Jensen is the female.
Oh, okay.
Other sources have speculated that Zodiac wasn't responsible because no taunting letters or phone calls were received until months after the murders. However, when Zodiac finally took credit for this attack, he provided many details that were not known to the general public.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps Zodiac's sense of fulfillment following the Faraday Jensen murders was so strong that he didn't feel the need to immediately brag to the news media. More than 30 years later, local residents still haven't forgotten this crime, and the secluded area of the murders hasn't changed very much at all.
Oh, really?
So it's still just kind of out in
Still
the
the
middle of
way it
nowhere
was.
and
Ooh.
very secluded.
Ooh.
Then, on July 5th of 1969, nice, Darlene Elizabeth,
Sorry.
age 22, and Mike Renault McGew, age 19, were become the second pair of victims claimed by the Zodiac
It's
Killer.
Mago.
Not
Magoo.
McGew. My bad. Darlene Ferran, age 22, was shot 5 times. Mike Mago, age 19, was shot 4 times. The weapon was a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. There was no indication of robbery or sexual molestation, and there were no witnesses.
Of course.
Ferran was married and worked as a waitress at Terry's restaurant. Mago was single and worked as a laborer. Ferran's husband, Dean, was initially a suspect in the murder, however, was ruled out once it was established he was working as a cook at Caesar's restaurant at the time of the murder. Ferran's first husband, James Phillips Crabtree, was also briefly a suspect. According to surviving victim Mago, he and Ferran had parked at the isolated location to talk.
Okay.
So,
to talk.
Yeah.
So they were like, they knew each other before?
I guess.
So it could be somebody
that's why
guy
Dean
knew?
was initially a suspect, because they
Right.
thought, Dean would have been upset that maybe his wife was cheating on him.
Right.
But as far as we're aware, or that I could at least find, I don't know if that was like if they were doing the nasty or
Well, so it sounds like somebody that they knew at least.
yeah. A car, possibly a light brown Ford Mustang or Chevrolet Corvair, pulled into the lot just a few feet away. A man with a flashlight exited the vehicle and approached them. There were no other cars on the parking lot. Them thinking it was a police officer, the couple had their identification ready.
Oh, no.
Without warning, when the man pulled up on them when they rolled down the window, he opened fire at the couple.
Jeez.
After 5 shots were fired, the man walked slowly back to his car. Mago screamed in pain, at which point the man returned and fired 2 more shots into each of them.
Both? Oh, my God.
It was at this point that Mago got a look at him. The man was white, 5'8" to 5'9", late 20s to early 30s, stocky build, round face, and brown hair.
So he survived?
He did survive.
Wow.
Oddly enough. That's another kind of thing that happens in with the Zodiac, is that the woman is always almost made sure to be killed. Whereas the man, he kind of just disposes of quickly. He specifically goes for the women.
Sounds like he's got a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this man has a problem.
That's just my interpretation of it.
Right.
Because the first set of victims, the guy, he shot in the head instantly, but didn't go back to kill him. Whereas the woman, he shot 5 times, made sure she died.
But he never did anything like sexually assaulting.
Never
nothing
sexually
like that.
assaulted anybody or anything.
So it sounds like he has a vendetta against women.
It's a theory.
Yeah. Huh.
No conversation between the victims and the man occurred. Approximately 45 minutes later, the Vallejo Police Department received a call from a man claiming responsibility for the attack.
Wow.
He correctly identified the weapon used as a 9mm and also took credit for the Faraday and Jensen murders of December 20th, 1968.
Oh, at that same time? Okay.
For the next few weeks, the investigation went nowhere. Then, on July 31st, 1969, letters were sent to the Vallejo Times-Herald, San Francisco Examiner, and San Francisco Chronicle. The letters claimed to be from the killer of Faraday, Jensen, and Ferran. Details were included that only the killer could have known, and each letter contained 1/3 of a cipher that, if solved, supposedly contained the killer's identity. While the killer hadn't yet given himself the name Zodiac, this marked the beginning of a letter-writing spree that would go on for more than 5 years.
Oh, so he didn't even name himself,
He
like
didn't name
his
himself
nickname?
Not yet.
Not his nickname? That's crazy. Normally, that's like one of the first things they do. They're like, call me blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And
So not quite there yet. Then, on December 27th of 1969, just 2 months later, a third pair of victims was attacked. Cecilia Shepard, age 22, was stabbed 10 times,
Jesus.
5 in the front and 5 in the back. Brian Hartnell, age 20, was stabbed 6 times in the back. The knife had a wooden handle and a blade approximately 10 to 12 inches long.
So aggressive. That's
Yeah.
like crime of passion aggression.
Yeah. So, I mean, could you imagine a foot
No.
long blade
No, I couldn't.
being
That's
stabbed into
horrifying. That's like
you?
my
Ooh.
nightmares.
Yeah. Not a pretty sight, that.
I've had nightmares like that. They're not fun.
There was no indication of robbery or sexual molestation, and again, there were no witnesses. According to the police report, the couple was relaxing on a blanket at a very remote location by the lake. Shepard noticed a man approaching them wearing an unusual costume and holding a gun. He appeared to be more than 6 feet tall with a heavy build. The man claimed he was a prison escapee from either Montana or Colorado and needed money and a car to flee to Mexico. Hartnell offered his wallet and car keys, which weren't taken. After several minutes of conversation, the man tied the couple with plastic clothesline and began stabbing them.
Oh my god.
Hartnell was attacked first, then Shepard. After the assault, the man walked casually away from the scene.
So why try to give a false alibi for or not alibi, but like you know what I mean? Like a false cover story. Like I escaped from prison and I want to go to Mexico. Like why even do that if you're gonna attempt to kill them anyway?
You know,
Unless you're
I
sure
just feel like
maybe
this guy just got a sick kick out of being in power
this guy's weird.
and
Insane.
having people just constantly trying to figure stuff out,
Yeah.
maybe. So I'm not sure why he would have said that. Um,
Hmm.
but after several minutes, a nearby fisherman heard the couple screaming and alerted park rangers. By the time help arrived, Shepard and Hartnell had managed to untie the restraints. It took nearly an hour for an ambulance to arrive, at which
What?
time both victims were in critical condition
Why an hour?
because they were out in the middle of nowhere, just out in like the hills
That's a long
on a picnic.
time.
I don't
I mean
know.
the police got there.
It was park rangers.
Oh, not the police.
No.
That's insane.
Just over an hour after the attack, the Napa Police Department received a call from a man claiming responsibility for the stabbing. The call was quickly traced to a phone booth in downtown Napa, and fingerprints were later recovered.
So do you think he had like cuz I'm noticing a trend of him being able to know when his victims are discovered and then calling the police sometime after? Like relatively close. Maybe he had like a police scanner or something.
He has a thing for kind of people out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So I assume he probably has some knowledge of the area, knowing maybe how fast police can get from point A to B.
Yeah, I guess to get himself away and then call it in.
Yeah,
Just always happens to happen after the victims are discovered.
very
Hmm.
interesting. Meanwhile, Napa County Sheriff's Department deputies responding to the crime scene, they found that the attacker had written a message on the victim's car door. The message included the dates of the Faraday Jensen and Ferran Mago attacks and was signed with a cross circle symbol. Tire tracks indicated the killer had parked behind the victim's car, and then size 10 and a half wing walker shoe prints were recovered from the scene, indicating a suspect weighing more than 210 pounds. Detectives later located 3 young women who had noticed a strange man in the general area just a couple of hours before the attack. Shepard died within 48 hours of the stabbing. Her funeral services attracted a huge
Oh
crowd of
wow.
mourners. Hartnell recovered from his wounds and is now an attorney in Southern California.
Oh, that's so sad.
But
He
yeah,
was
so you
trying to
see what
go
I mean
for
by
the
like how he
murderer.
always makes sure the woman is gonna die, but the
Right.
guy he just kind of
Yeah.
gets out of the way.
Yeah, that's
While Brian gave many interviews in the first few years after the attack, he is no longer discussing the case with the news media. Many suspects were scrutinized, including serial killer Ted Bundy.
hmm.
A February 1989 comparison of fingerprints helped clear Bundy of his crime,
Yeah,
though.
it's not really in his MO.
Yeah. So, all right. And then 2 weeks later, on October 11th of 1969, Paul Stein was the Zodiac's next target.
Hmm.
The attack took place at approximately 9:55 p.m. at the northeast corner of Washington and Cherry Streets in the Presidio Heights neighborhood of San Francisco, California. Uh, Paul Stein, who was a cab driver, he was 29 years old, was shot once in the head at point blank range.
Oh,
The weapon was a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, but not the same 9mm pistol he used in the Farron murder. It's a whole
okay.
different weapon.
Okay.
There were 3 witnesses from a house on the southeast corner of the intersection. Stein's cab was hailed at Mason and Gary Street, with the intended destination being Washington and Maple Streets near the Presidio. For reasons unknown, the cab ended up at Washington and Cherry Streets, a block away from the original destination.
Hmm.
Stein's wallet and keys were taken, and a large portion of his shirt was carefully torn off.
Okay.
Bloody fingerprints, potentially of the suspect, were recovered from the vehicle. According to a police document, a pair of men's size 7 black leather gloves were also found.
Oh.
The 3 witnesses watched the suspect from approximately 60 feet away as he wiped down the cab with a cloth after killing Stein. They called the police and described a white male, 25 to 30 years old, 5'8" to 5'9", stocky build, reddish brown hair,
Hmm.
worn in a crew cut, heavy rimmed glasses, and dark clothing.
Was he not wearing his moniker?
His little costume? No.
Yeah.
He was just in
Oh.
regular clothing.
Okay.
Uh,
They were unable. Okay, never mind. I guess. Yeah.
They last saw him casually walking north on Cherry Street. Unfortunately, the police dispatcher mistakenly described the suspect as being a black male adult. As a result, when patrol officers Donald Folk and Eric Zelms minutes later observed a white man walking east on Jackson Street, he was never stopped and questioned.
Why?
The officers did get a good look at him, however.
Uh-huh.
When the correct description of the suspect was finally broadcast, the officers realized they might have encountered him. A search of the area where the man had been observed was conducted, but to no avail. It's
I
interesting.
mean, he would have been far back. Yeah, that's like that
How,
last case
like,
that I did with
how everything just works out perfectly for him.
for the Zodiac. I mean,
Makes no sense, man.
that's just like in the Cindy case that I did. What was that, last week? There was that guy who was standing right outside the house when it was burning up, and nobody got a good look at him. He was
Right.
never able to be tracked down. He just ran away.
Craziness. The man seen by Folk and Zelms was very similar to the suspect observed by the 3 witnesses. He was white, 35 to 45 years old,
Hmm.
5'10", between 180 and 200 pounds, barrel-chested with light-colored crew-cut hair, and wearing glasses. The man didn't appear to be carrying anything, and no conversation between the man and the officers took place. The Stein murder was initially thought to be a routine cabbie killing, a robbery gone bad.
It's just a routine for you. That's horrible for the world to be like, yeah, that was just a routine killing. Like,
Yeah.
that's horrible.
However, on October 13th, 1969, the Francisco Chronicle received a letter from Zodiac containing a portion of a bloody shirt and taking credit for the killing. San Francisco Police Department inspectors Dave Toshi and Bill Armstrong, who were assigned to the case, were shocked to realize the shirt belonged to Stein. Still later, Zodiac would claim he actually spoke with the patrolman the night of the murder, leading them astray. The 3 witnesses, though, hampered by poor lighting conditions and fog during their observation of the crime, worked with the police composite artist to put a face on Zodiac. A few days after the sketch was circulated throughout the Bay Area in the form of a wanted poster, the witnesses requested the sketch be altered to make it more accurate. Thus, another version was made. More than a month after Stein's murder, Officer Folk finally came forward about his possible encounter with the killer. So this was the original composite drawing
Okay.
of what he possibly looked like.
So he's kind of got like a angular face too. So
Mhm.
that's not like so what I'm looking at is, just a white guy with a crew cut. His face is kind of lopsided from this picture, so that's like, I mean, that's a good defining feature for somebody who's
Yeah.
trying to be identified,
Yeah.
but they can never identify him.
I mean,
Obviously.
they had sketches of him, but as we'll come to find out, like I said, there's many different suspects. Apparently, there's a lot of people back in the day who look like this.
With the lopsided face and everything,
Yeah.
apparently.
So that was the first version, and then this was the second one.
Okay.
So
I mean, very similar, lopsided face, kind of.
but in this one, he definitely looks a lot older. So now we'll go ahead and talk about some of his ciphers that he
Okay.
sent around. This information I was able to find on historychannel.com, actually.
Oh.
So, and apparently the person who wrote the article, I forgot to include the name. He actually looked into a bunch of different ciphers and actually tried to cipher things himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I kind
Did
of
he ever
believe what he
figure
said.
anything out?
So most of them, I believe I have 3 or 4 included. There's only one that has, to this day, has never been deciphered.
That's could be a red herring,
Maybe.
maybe,
So,
Psycho people like to do that.
right? So, the first letter, known as Z408, was sent on July 31st of 1969.
Okay.
This cipher, which was his first, was his longest. It was 408 characters. The killer split it into 3 pieces of equal length and mailed 2 to the newspapers in San Francisco and 1 to a paper in nearby Vallejo, demanding they be printed or he would go on a quote kill rampage.
Sure.
And of course, the ciphers were published.
Right.
Within about a week, North Salinas schoolteacher Donald Hardin and his wife Betty contacted the San Francisco Chronicle with their solution. Betty is credited with discovering 2 cribs, which are words or phrases suspected to appear in the message. Cribs are powerful cryptanalytic tools because once a location or locations can be determined for them, several substitutions can be identified, which can then accelerate the unraveling
Oh,
process.
okay. So kind of like A equals Y,
Type of thing.
B equals E or whatever. Okay.
Inspired by the killer's obvious craving for attention, Betty guessed that the message would begin with the word I.
That's fair. What a smart lady.
She also believed the word kill or killing, or even the phrase I like killing, would appear somewhere in the message. And her guesses turned out to be correct.
What a smart lady.
So she managed
the
to
Zodiac.
solve that just by being like, he seems like an egomaniac.
Yeah, he does.
So that was pretty interesting how just a school teacher just randomly saw it in the paper and was like, I'm going to solve it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, good
they
for
managed
her.
to do it.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Now, the next one, known as Z340, was sent on November 8th of 1969.
So what's with the numbers?
Maybe it's the number of characters.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So while Z408 required only 20-some hours for the husband and wife team to solve, Zodiac's next cipher stumped everyone, amateurs and experts alike, for decades.
Oh, wow.
While it appears to be the same sort of cipher, it has challenged even sophisticated artificial intelligence softwares,
Dang.
such as Carmel, designed by University of Southern California professor Kevin Knight. The killer may not have liked that his first cipher was broken quickly and designed an improved cipher that, for example, would begin with I, and if the word kill appeared, the pair of L's would be enciphered as 2 different symbols to make it harder to locate.
Wow. That's frustrating.
Yeah. So,
Even technology couldn't crack it.
advanced AI.
Yeah.
And his cipher of 408, his first cipher, only 1 letter was ever represented by itself, some instances of E.
Okay.
So perhaps a new twist he used in the Z340 cipher was to have many letters represented by themselves. In the solution eventually found, half the alphabet is left unchanged. Even some punctuation, such as the period at the ends of sentences, is left as is. So he would
Okay, so
just,
just really
randomly be like, I'm going to keep that letter how it's supposed to be, and then it would throw everybody off.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Another trick he played in the new cipher was following 8 lines of meaningful text with several lines of gibberish to throw off statistical analysts.
Wow.
He also had the repeated pair plus plus appear in 3 places, probably as a way to get would-be solvers to make them the LL in kill, which they did not represent this time.
Yeah.
In the Z408 cipher, Zodiac had 2 symbols that could stand for either A or S. In the Z340, the symbol plus represented F or G, but never L.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why play these games at this point?
Because why not, I guess.
I mean, I guess.
So, on 420, 1970, blaze it. This is the shortest cipher. It is also the most important.
Okay.
It is preceded by the words, my name is blank. Zodiac made a big promise about the Z408 letter, or cipher, writing, by the way, are the police having a good time with the code? If not, tell them to cheer up. When they do crack it, they will have me. This was far from true.
Right.
The solution even contained the words, I will not give you my name.
Okay.
Zodiac may have been lying again when he sent the Z13 cipher, but on the other hand, the unbroken cipher that followed Z408 may have given him confidence to truly reveal something significant.
Well, if he made it hard enough,
Right. So, one main problem is that the message is short enough to offer multiple solutions.
Oh, really? That's frustrating.
If we can get many different names out, how can we possibly decide which is correct? One solution put forth years ago, which is believed to be correct, was Alfred E Newman, which is the mascot of Mad Magazine.
Like the face on the front?
Yeah, so this.
Yeah.
This little kid, remember?
So why would they even consider that?
Well, it was just the Zodiac Maybe
Mhm.
putting that was probably one of the names that appeared.
Yeah, just
And
to throw
as
him
it sees
off.
here, putting this ridiculous name forward as his identity matches the killer's sense of humor. Also, the first three ciphers in the Z13 uh, are AEN, Newman's initials.
Yeah.
So he probably did this just to bait them.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Here is the last really big cipher, which is Z32. This was sent on June 26th of 1970. So a
Mhm.
good time has passed here.
Right.
This is sometimes known as the map code because it came with a map of San Francisco Bay Area. Z32 is Zodiac's strangest cipher. A symbol closely resembling the crosshairs image used by Zodiac to sign many of his messages appears on the map as a compass with the instructions 0 is to be set to mag N.
Okay.
This is one of several indicators that Zodiac was of above average intelligence. How many people would bother to distinguish north from magnetic north?
Mhm.
What sort of work was the killer engaged in that made it important for him to know the difference? The compass is centered at Mount Diablo. Why?
Wow, that's
So maybe the location was special to Zodiac or something. Or maybe he
or
was just
maybe he
doing
was
another,
like,
like,
"This is Mount
maybe,
Devil, Mount
yeah.
Diablo."
The killer wrote, the map coupled with this code will tell you where the bomb is set.
Uh,
In a later letter sent July 26, 1970, he provided a clue. P.S. The Mount Diablo code concerns radians and number inches along the radians.
Inches along the radians. Okay.
The Z32 cipher uses numbers to indicate a position of the map. Maybe Kevin Knight's artificial intelligence program, Carmel, can easily investigate such possibilities systematically and could provide some interesting results. But
That's so crazy.
yeah, so
This guy's insane.
just a, just a little bit.
Like actually insane. So
Yeah.
somebody obsessed with numbers and codes by the looks of it. Probably has some wild theories about life and
Oh yeah, 100%.
a weird worldview, obviously.
So now we'll go ahead and start getting into some of the suspects. So the first suspect is Richard Gaikowski. He was born in Watertown, South Dakota on March 14th of 1936. He attended nearby Webster High School and then Northern State Teachers College in Aberdeen, South Dakota. He died of cancer in San Francisco on April 30th of 2004.
Okay.
Gaikowski served a stint in the Army during the 1950s. It is known that Gaikowski was trained as a medic. Medics were trained to tear the clothing of a bleeding victim to use as bandages if they did not have access to the proper equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Undershirt first, then shirt, then pants if necessary. This is the order of cleanliness, with the shirt tail being preferred if tucked in. Zodiac tore off a portion of the victim's shirt tail.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, since 80% of such records were destroyed by fire in 1973, not much more is known about Gaikowski's military career.
Mm.
In October of
Were
1965, sorry, what?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna ask if they like interviewed his family or any
Maybe.
like
Maybe.
um battle buddies or something to kind of get a good idea since the records were destroyed. That'd be something I would investigate.
Well, just a lot of, I would say, mishandling of a bunch of these suspects, honestly,
Yeah.
and mishandling of evidence. In October of 1965, Gaikowski was intentionally arrested for refusing to sign a traffic citation following a routine stop in Contra Costa County, California. As an investigative reporter for the local newspaper, Gaikowski's goal was to write a story about the conditions within the county jail from the perspective of an inmate.
Oh, okay.
Following his brief stay in jail, Gaikowski's mugshot was published along with his story. However, by the time Gaikowski became a Zodiac suspect more than 20 years later, records of his fingerprints were long gone,
Oh, really? Of course.
making a comparison to Zodiac's fingerprints impossible without either Gaikowski's consent or a court order. There is no evidence either happened.
Okay. So,
So his
did they even
fingerprints that
did
they
they even
took,
ask him for his fingerprints?
yeah, when he got sent to jail, they always
Oh,
take your fingerprints.
yeah.
But 20 years later, the records
The
were
records
gone
were gone.
of his
I wonder if
fingerprints.
that's like the statute, the whatever.
I don't know.
It's called something where you have to destroy the records after a certain amount of time.
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like, but doesn't everybody get fingerprinted when they're like babies?
I don't know.
And then whenever they get like a new passport or something, I think you have to get fingerprinted. Weird.
Who knows? At the time of Gaikowski's intentional arrest, he was living less than 5 miles from the Zodiac Killer's first eventual attack, the double murder at the isolated Lake Herman Road. Eventual Zodiac victim Darlene Ferran of Vallejo, California, got married on January 1st, 1966, and moved to Albany, New York. Gaikowski quickly followed, moving across country from Martinez, California. Ferran's husband worked at the Albany Times-Union newspaper. Gaikowski worked in the same building at the rival Albany Knickerbocker News. In August 1973, 4 years after Ferran was killed by the Zodiac, the Times-Union received a letter from someone claiming to be the Zodiac Killer. When solved, the cipher that was included with the letter made reference to the Albany Medical Center.
Ooh. Okay. I'm convinced so far.
In 1969, 1970, and 1971, Gaikowski was a member of an anti-police, pro-violence counterculture newspaper and commune in San Francisco called Good Times. During this time, Gaikowski was known to smoke pot regularly and to use heavier drugs such as speed and LSD.
Okay. Yeah.
Fun stuff, right? As early as January 1969, the Good Times newspaper was running violent works of fiction that were nearly a blueprint
Ooh.
for Zodiac's future crimes.
Oh. Is that made public?
Yeah, it's a newspaper.
Like it's still something that we can see? Oh.
So right here it says on January 28, 1969, the San Francisco Express, which became the Good Times shortly after, published a work of fiction called Berkeley Guns, written by Lenny Heller. This is an excerpt from it. On July 4th, 1969, a band of revolutionaries calling itself the Berkeley Revolutionary Committee for Business successfully engaged and humiliated the combined police forces of the Bay Area. 138 police were killed in a 12-hour period.
Okay.
Another segment of the Berkeley Guns fantasy piece. The pigs, I'm sure, must be frantically searching their suburban communities for the bombs we warned of, for booby traps.
This is really on the nose.
So far, it's kind of looking like him.
It's pretty much looking like him.
Wednesday was production day for the weekly Good Times newspaper, with the staffers working from early in the morning until very late at night to prepare the new issue. Between Zodiac's debut in July of 1969 until the Good Times folded in 1973, the Zodiac mailed 15 letters. Never did he mail a letter on a Wednesday, although he did on every other day of the week.
Okay.
So to kind of connect the dots there, so the Good Times that he worked for, was a part of.
Yeah.
Wednesdays when they did all the work, and then they would do all the stuff on the other days. And it just so happened that Zodiac would only mail letters on the other days and not Wednesday.
It's very convenient.
Very convenient, right? So at the time of his murder, the Good Times switchboard was located only yards from the residence of Zodiac victim Paul Stein on Fell Street in San Francisco.
Okay. I need to know exactly what came of this guy.
Right? We'll find out. Carol, Paul Stein's sister, recognized Gaikowski as having attended Paul's funeral.
Ooh. Why is this so... okay, I need to know why he didn't work out as a suspect. Or did he remain a suspect? Okay, tell me.
Stein was killed on San Francisco's Washington Street. Only one Gaikowski was listed in a city directory at the time. Richard's cousin, as she lived on Washington Street. Her birthday was October 11th, the very day Stein was murdered by the Zodiac.
Wow.
Stein, a cab driver, was the one victim whom Zodiac could choose when and where he could be killed.
That's scary.
On the very day Zodiac debuted by mailing 3 rush-to-editor letters to 3 separate newspapers in the San Francisco area, the Good Times just happened to run a cover that was split into thirds. It was the only instance of Zodiac mailing a letter on a Thursday until after the Good Times folded in 1973.
Wow.
5 months later, the Good Times published a 3-part code of its own.
Of course.
The Good Times also occasionally ran sensationalistic Zodiac Killer headlines that were out of place.
You mean out of place?
So this is a large excerpt, and it just, big text that Zodiac strikes again.
But it doesn't even go along with the article?
It was just kind of put here. If you kind of look, this is a section just talking about astrological and tarot forecasts.
But it just says Zodiac strikes again.
But it just says Zodiac strikes again on this page for seemingly no reason. In articles he published in 1969, Gaikowski had the habit of shortening his last name to 4 letters and use multiple spellings, such as G-I-K-E or G-A-I-K. Interestingly, G-Y-K-E can clearly be seen in Zodiac's 3-part cipher mailed on July 31st of 1969.
All right, that's the Zodiac. Like, come on.
What's more, how Zodiac chose to code the cipher phonetically gives you Gaikowski's full last name.
Genuine, like, so why isn't he
So
Oh,
as
I
you can see in the
see.
cipher in the very middle,
Just right in the middle.
spells out
Gyke.
Gyke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As you see right here.
Yeah. The whole cipher is like right in the middle. It just says Gyke. Like
Yep.
Gaikowski. Wait, wait,
Very,
wait, wait,
very
wait. Go back. Go back.
coincidental.
Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. His full last name's actually in this cipher. So Gyke, and then Gyke solves to AUSE with the key. So Jaikaus. Yeah.
Gaikowski.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So where's the Alice? Oh, that's okay. I gotcha.
Yeah. Guy.
Oh, yeah, because
Kowski.
you. Oh, okay, bro. This is
Come
the
on.
guy. Like that's too about. Okay, so what I was just looking at was one of the ciphers that spells out Gyke, which translates to a separate alphabet, and Gyke translates to AUSE, which is like Gaikaus,
Yep.
and you use the key to come to that conclusion. So like Gaikowski. So like come on, that's too convenient. Why isn't this guy arrested?
We'll find out.
Sorry, I just wanted to let you guys go through the process that just went into my head because that blew my mind right there.
Oh yeah. Like it's crazy. Like the amount of things is pointing fingers.
It's too convenient.
Well, we'll find out what happens. At the very time the Zodiac wrote his only letter to the Vallejo Times-Herald, Gaikowski's best friend Bob worked at that very newspaper. Even though the Good Times was a counterculture slash hippie newspaper, once Gaikowski came aboard, it ran free ads for such unlikely events as performances of the Mikado and a Zodiac favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes Zodiac actually quoted the Mikado in his letters.
Yep. This guy did it.
On March 13th, 1971, the Zodiac sent a letter to the Los Angeles Times, coinciding closely with the mailing. Gaikowski was involuntarily committed to the Napa State Hospital after going, quote, berserk. He was then diagnosed with a mental illness and began treatment at Mount Zion Hospital in San Francisco. The Zodiac didn't write again for almost 3 years.
I just threw my hands up in the air if you guys can't see me doing.
It's crazy.
Like this guy did it.
Did he?
Yes.
When the Zodiac re-emerged in 1974 with letters referring to recent movie releases, Gaikowski was operating a storefront theater in the Mission District of San Francisco. A film buff, Gaikowski eventually became involved with San Francisco's Roxy Theater.
Okay.
Nancy Slaver, the police dispatcher who spoke with the Zodiac in July of 1969, has identified Gaikowski's voice as being the same as the Zodiac's voice. In 1986, the Napa County Sheriff's Department briefly investigated Gaikowski. After urging from Goldcatcher and Pam Huckabee, sister of Darlene Ferran, Detective Ken Narlow did a background check on Gaikowski and put him under surveillance for a few nights. Narlow found nothing to warrant further investigation and the matter was dropped. Meanwhile, the California Department of Justice determined that Gaikowski's handwriting had consistencies with the Zodiac's handwriting, and more samples of Gaikowski's printing were requested. Goldcatcher found printing that he felt could have belonged to Gaikowski, but those samples were determined to not be a match. There was not enough probable cause for an arrest or search warrant, and the investigation ended. Right? Oh, man.
I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say about that.
It's dumb. The big one that many people believe is the true Zodiac is Arthur Lee Allen.
Okay.
Arthur Lee Allen's connections to the Zodiac Killer began on October 30th, 1966, when Cherry Joe Bates was stabbed to death at Riverside City College in Riverside, California. In late November 1966, 2 anonymous, typewritten Bates murder confession letters were mailed to the local police station and newspaper. The typewriter was identified as being a Royal model with either Elite or Pica type.
Might be Pica.
Pica type, one of those. Allen allegedly was in Riverside the weekend Bates was murdered. The information placing Allen in Riverside was developed in 1971 by the Vallejo Police Department and the California Department of Justice. Allen later hinted it was true, first claiming to have been in the area at the time, then telling people he was in nearby Pomona when he first heard of the Bates murder.
Okay.
So he has conflicting stories of where he was during that time.
Yeah.
Employed as an elementary school teacher in California's Calaveras County at the time of the Bates murder, by the time his employment ended in late March 1968, Allen had used only one of 19 available sick days. The day Allen was absent was November 1st, 1966. Initially, Allen attributed the absence to, quote, school business. He was later charged with a sick day. Modern FBI profiles on serial killers usually say that during periods of activity, the killer will behave erratically, exhibit moodiness, drink or smoke more than usual, and miss work. During the execution of a 1991 search warrant, the police department seized a Royal typewriter with Elite type from the home of Allen.
Ooh. Was that wait? It was Royal model though.
Mhm.
Oh, with
Yeah,
either Elite. Okay, I
with Elite
gotcha.
type.
I gotcha.
In late April 1967, 3 anonymous letters referring to Bates were mailed. In 1970, Sherwood Morrill, head of the Question Documents section of California's Criminal Identification and Investigation
Oh
Bureau,
my goodness.
talk about a mouthful, determined them to be a work of Zodiac. Each contained double the necessary postage and Zodiac trademark. 2 of the 3 letters were signed with an unusual symbol. Some believe the symbol resembles a sloppy Z, others say it looks like a 32. At the time Bates was killed, Allen was 32 years old and his permanent residence was 32 Fresno Street in Vallejo, California. In 1970, Zodiac would create a cipher that contained 32 symbols.
Hmm.
And this is actually a picture of his little thing.
So it's like a 2.
It's like a 2, and then the 3 is on top that connects it to the 2.
Yeah. Okay.
So, do you think it's a Z or a 32?
I think it's a Z. I'm gonna
Think
be
it's a Z?
real. Yeah, I think it's a Z. I think it just is written weird. Everybody's
Mhm.
got their own like weird letter.
But interesting how it kind of looks like a 32 and it
It does also like,
coincides.
yeah, it does look like a 32. I'll give you that, but I think that's just really
Kind of
convenient.
stretching it,
Yeah, it's
looking,
I feel
just
like that's
looking
a
for something.
I feel like that's a straw pull there.
Yeah. At the approximate time the 3 letters were mailed, a desk was discovered on the RCC campus that had a morbid poem scratched into the surface,
Okay.
possibly referring to the Bates murder. In 1970, Morrill claimed the poem was definitely the work of Zodiac, although other experts believe the condition of the desk prevented authentication. The poem was signed R.H. The president of RCC at the time Bates was murdered was R.H. Bradshaw, a detail
Mm.
a stranger to the area probably wouldn't have known.
Mhm.
Interestingly, after establishing the moniker Zodiac, the only reference Zodiac ever made to the Bates murder came in a letter to the Los Angeles Times postmarked March 13th, 1971. RCC, where Bates was a student, was found on March 13th, 1916.
Okay.
Timing his letters to be postmarked on a significant date was a Zodiac specialty, and the Times reference to Bates is another example of this.
Okay. Eh.
The Bates murder was initially merely local news, but not likely to have gotten much exposure outside of the Riverside area. If Zodiac didn't actually kill Bates, which is a strong possibility, he at least had enough knowledge of the crime to produce the anonymous confessions.
Yeah. I feel like I believe that because for some reason it's a common thing for a lot of people for some reason to confess to a
Yeah, I
murder.
don't,
I don't
I don't
understand that
understand
line of
that.
thinking, but
What are you gonna get out of it?
I mean, he's one of the suspects in a major like
I mean,
historical
yeah,
case, but
but
it's stupid.
yeah.
Just stop it.
A strong case can be made that Zodiac had ties to the Riverside area. Uh, Allen certainly did.
Okay.
According to his brother Ron, Allen was given a Zodiac watch as a Christmas gift from their mother in 1967.
Stop it, wrong. Sorry.
Stop it, Ron. Allen's estimation of when he received the watch was July or August of 1969. The logo for the Zodiac watch is a cross circle symbol, the same as eventually used by the Zodiac Killer.
This was on
It was
the
on his
watch?
watch. It was a brand of watch.
Hmm. Mhm.
According to police statements, within days of receiving the watch, Allen is alleged to have made these claims to his friend Don Cheney. Allen used the premise of writing a novel to communicate this fantasy. Cheney estimates the conversation took place on January 1st of 1969.
Good.
Nice. And so here's his statements. He would like to kill couples at random. He would taunt the police with letters detailing his crimes. He would sign the letters with the cross circle symbol from his watch. He would call himself Zodiac. He would wear makeup to change his appearance. He would attach a flashlight to the barrel of his gun in order to shoot at night. He would fool women into stopping their cars on rural areas by claiming they had problems with their tires, then loosen their lug nuts and eventually take them captive.
Okay.
Don eventually took this information to the police, and in 1972, the San Francisco Police Department was able to secure a search warrant against Allen as the Zodiac Killer. Unfortunately, San Francisco Police Department elected to search a trailer that Allen frequented in nearby Santa Rosa instead of searching his home at 32 Fresno Street in Vallejo. Nothing incriminating was found.
So I have problems with the statements.
Hmm.
Um, Cheney's the one that gave the statements to the police, right?
Yeah.
Who, when did he give these
So
to the police? Later, sometime, I
just at some
assume.
point, he claims that the conversation took place January 1st of 1969,
Okay.
and this is just days after Alan got the watch or
Did they
whatever.
ever find the watch? Like, has that ever been confirmed to be real?
Oh, it was a real thing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's 100% real. He did have a Zodiac watch.
Okay. So my thing is that as far as we know, the Zodiac's MO isn't really to abduct women, which is something that Cheney claimed he
But
said to him.
then again,
I
it's
mean, he did have a weird thing
possible
with women. Yeah,
because
but
but it was really hard to tell what he actually did and didn't do because of people sending in letters posing as him.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I don't think he's the type of guy. I think he's just the type of person who probably just shot.
I
Because
mean,
in the first quote that was read, it was like hunting man is like the best sport, because they're the
which is a
most
quote from the
right,
most dangerous game.
right. And my other thing that was what was it? Okay, so my other thing was like the whole nickname thing. He didn't give himself the nickname Zodiac, right? I think
And
that
he
was
did start
coined by the
signing it
medium.
out.
Okay,
He
that was
did start
coined by the
signing it as
medium.
Zodiac, and that's when he started writing the symbol too,
Okay.
which just happens to be the brand of the watch with the symbol of that watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see it. Okay. I was gonna say that I don't think he would call himself by the Zodiac, but if that's something that yeah, he
Yeah,
signed he
he
signed
he
his
was specifically
letters
signed it as
as
Zodiac.
Zodiac. Okay. All right. I'll give him that.
According to police statement, in an early 1968 conversation with his friend Philip, Allen is alleged to have been fascinated with the concept of hunting people. According to Allen, people would be more challenging to hunt than animals since they, quote, have intelligence.
That's on the nose again.
Just a little bit.
On I
Yeah. On July 31st of 1969, Zodiac mailed a cipher to the news media. Within days, it was solved and stated that killing man was more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is, quote, the most dangerous animal of all to kill.
right.
Additionally, during a 1971 police interrogation, Allen offered the fact that as a youth, he had read a book that had made a lasting impression on him. The book was called The Most Dangerous Game. It was about hunting a man like an animal.
Okay. Just rolled my eyes, but okay.
On June 15th of 1958, Allen was arrested by the police department and charged with disturbing the peace, the result of an altercation with acquaintance Rolf Spinelli. The charges were dismissed on July 8th, 1958. Zodiac would later taunt San Francisco Chronicle columnist Marco Spinelli in a letter postmarked July 8th,
Oh
1974.
wow. Okay. So like around the same
So
day, a
more
few years
crossing
later.
dates.
Yeah. Okay.
According to statements to police by family and friends, prior to the publication of Zodiac's codes, Allen had possession of codes featuring identical symbols. Additionally, Allen was known to use the same unusual spelling and phrasing as Zodiac later used, such as spelling Merry Xmas instead of Merry Xmas. He would just use one R rather than two, and saying Trigger Mech instead of Trigger Mech rather than saying Trigger Mechanism.
Oh, okay.
Allen would intentionally misspell words to be funny. In a 1969 letter, Zodiac used the term busy work with two S's, which is jargon used by elementary school teachers. Busy work is a technique used to keep children busy and therefore happy by assigning them menial tasks. Prior to his termination in March 1968, Allen had almost 10 years of experience as an elementary school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Despite its negative ramifications on his life, Allen continued to wear his Zodiac watch until it was seized during the execution of the police department search warrant in 1991.
Okay. So yeah, it was a real thing. Okay.
It was a real thing, yes.
Gotcha.
So now we're going to go over a little bit more. Like I said, people believe this is like the guy. So
Okay.
there's a lot more information
I'm
on
not
him.
convinced yet, but
I don't know.
I'm way more convinced of that first guy, Gaikowski.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
So here's where things kind of get weird.
Okay.
So in late March 1968, Allen was fired from his job as an elementary school teacher for molesting a student. This was Allen's second career failure, as in 1958, he was less than honorably discharged from the Navy after 2 years of service. With no source of income, Allen moved back home with his mother and father at 32 Fresno Street in Vallejo. And according to friends and family, Allen hated his mother and felt inferior around his father. His father's name was Ethan, and he was a very successful military man.
Oh, okay.
Certainly, being a child molester didn't help Arthur's status around the house. Allen began gaining weight and drinking heavily, eventually taking a part time job as a service station attendant. By winter, Allen was in a major downward spiral of depression and alcohol abuse, most probably amplified by two major stressors, his birthday and Christmas. The apparently motiveless Lake Herman Road murders occurred on December 20th, 1968, just between Allen's December 18th birthday and Christmas. Profiles indicate serial killers are always active in areas they are very familiar with. Allen was living only about 7 minutes from Lake Herman Road crime scene.
Okay.
He had an explosive temper and was known to park and drink alcohol in rural settings such as Lake Herman Road and always carried weapons in his automobile.
Did the victims, the surviving victims, ever report an alcoholic smell or?
Nope, not as far as we know.
Okay.
In 1991, the search warrant executed by Vallejo Police Department revealed Allen owned the same type of ammunition used to kill the victims of Zodiac's Lake Herman Road attack.
Well, it was 9mm, wasn't it? That's pretty
It was
common.
a specific ammo type.
Okay.
It was that whole like Winchester Western X copper coated.
Right.
That whole thing. So it was like it just happened to be that specific type.
Yeah.
Now to the next thing. Zodiac's Blue Rock Springs attack on July 4th, 1969 was the second within 7 months to occur on the eastern outskirts of Vallejo. This time, Zodiac was only about 4 minutes from Allen's home. So again, it's in that same general vicinity.
Yeah.
Major holidays can bring out ugly behavior in people, and Allen was already dealing with unemployment and alcohol abuse. The male victim, Mike Mago, survived the attack and gave police a description of Zodiac's car, brown in color, possibly a Corvair. At the time, Allen had a friend, Philip, who was trying to sell his brown Corvair. According to a police statement, Philip's Corvair was parked in front of a service station in Vallejo where Allen had recently been employed, and the key was inside the office. Philip had occasionally allowed Allen to drive the Corvair.
Right.
The possibility exists that Allen either had a key to the car or to the service station where it was parked.
Right. Yeah.
So that could explain how he got the car and
yeah, and he was so close.
Yeah. Additionally, there are potential connections between Blue Rock Springs victim Darlene Ferran and Allen. In 1966 to 67, Ferran worked as a waitress at the International House of Pancakes.
IHOP. What's up?
No,
Tried
it's
too much-
IHOB now.
No, that never actually happened.
Yeah.
That was not a political stunt. That was a.
It was a bad attempt at a meme. On Tennessee Street in Vallejo, less than 1/10 of a mile from Allen's home at 32 Fresno Street. About that time, Allen is alleged to have told Don Chaney that he was fond of a waitress from that restaurant. Also, according to a police report, an unidentified male named, quote, Lee was known to associate occasionally with Darlene. Allen was known by his middle name, spelling it Lee, L-E-E, until Lee is identified. The possibility exists that victim Ferran might have known Allen. Finally, in 1971, Allen's father, Ethan, died. The date was March 17th, Darlene's birthday. It was yet another occasion when someone close to Allen died on a significant Zodiac date.
Yeah.
And
this guy, Don Chaney, has a lot to say about Allen. That's all I'm saying. Allegedly, he told him this.
I mean,
allegedly,
if
he
you
told
think your
him
friend's possibly a mass murderer, would you not give info?
That's really very convenient info to give years later, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
Like, and I'm assuming at the point where he was telling police all this, his friend was dead. So he was trying to be like, I'm going to give them all these stories that corroborate. Anyway.
According to a police report in mid-1992, surviving Blue Rock Springs victim Mago picked Allen out of the Vallejo Police Department lineup, saying, "That's him. He's the man that shot me."
Huh. Okay.
So he was successfully identified in a lineup,
right?
And he, drove the same car,
right?
And,
yeah.
It's within a 10-mile radius of his house.
Yeah.
So things are kind of pointing at him now. Now the next part. On September 27th, in 1969, Zodiac used a foot-long knife with a sheath and rivets to attack a young couple at Lake Berryessa in Napa County, just north of Vallejo. Allen, an outdoorsman, frequented recreational areas such as Berryessa often, trapping game, scuba diving, and camping. Allen was familiar with the Berryessa area and even told Vallejo Police Department's Sergeant Lynch in an October 6, 1969 interview that the day of the attack he was, quote, was going to the Berryessa, but went up the coast instead. Allen first used a mysterious couple from Treasure Island as an alibi, but could never produce their names or phone number. A 1930s film, Charlie Chan at Treasure Island, featured a villain named Dr. Zodiac.
Okay. I think that's just convenient.
But it kind of goes with his whole MO. He likes to
Mm,
connect things like that
I
that are
mean,
really kind of obscure.
sometimes,
Um,
I guess.
but the villain, Dr. Zodiac in the movie, wrote taunting letters about his San Francisco crimes. He
Convenient.
also wrote letters.
Yeah.
Later, Allen attempted to use a deceased elderly neighbor as an alibi, claiming this neighbor, William White, had seen Allen the afternoon of the Berryessa attack and that the two had a conversation. At this time, another William White, a ranger from Napa County, was all over the news as a spokesman of the Berryessa attack. Neighbor White died within a couple of weeks of this alleged encounter. His birthday was December 20th. During a
Okay.
1971 police interrogation, Allen admitted to having possession of bloody knives the day of the Berryessa attack, claiming he used the knives to, quote, kill a chicken.
Okay.
Allen's physical appearance and voice were the same as Zodiac's, according to surviving Berryessa victim Brian Hartnell. Hartnell had been taken to see Allen at his place of employment by a Department of Justice representative in the mid 1970s. So, Zodiac left 10.5 footprints at the crime scene. According to a police report, Allen wore size 10.5. In 1991, the search warrant executed by Vallejo Police Department revealed Allen owned a foot-long knife with a sheath and rivets. And to date, even though it was an item it was looking for, the police department has not attempted matching Allen's knife to the wounds of the Berryessa victims.
Why not? But why not?
Gross misconduct, probably.
But why not?
Paul Stein, the cabbie.
Okay, yeah.
When Zodiac hailed Paul Stein's cab in San Francisco on October 11th, 1969, his original destination was Washington and Maple Street in Presidio Heights, an intersection featuring a school crosswalk. Amazingly, the address Stein was headed when he encountered Zodiac was 500 9th Avenue, the Allen Arms Apartments. So it has his name.
Coincidentally.
On October 13th, 2 days after killing Stein, Zodiac mailed a letter threatening school children.
Okay.
Exactly 1 week earlier, Allen had been interviewed by Vallejo Police Department's Lynch at the elementary school where Allen worked as a janitor. If Lynch had asked to see Allen's driver's license, he might have noticed that the issue date was October 13th.
And that was 2 days after killing Stein.
That was
and mailing the letter.
That's when the letter was sent out,
Okay.
and it happened to be on his license as the issue date.
Okay.
I don't know. A lot of coincidental dates
It's really
line up.
coincidental.
According to a police report in 1991, Allen's old nemesis, Ralph Spinelli, came
What a nemesis.
forward to the Vallejo Police Department claiming that just prior to the Stein murder, Allen had admitted he was Zodiac and would, quote, prove it by going to San Francisco and killing a cabbie.
Who said this? Was this?
This is Ralph Spinelli.
Yeah,
Allen told him.
The other radio guy, right?
Yeah.
The
guy
rival.
The rival.
The nemesis.
So he was quoted as saying he would kill a cabbie in San Francisco.
I mean, that's another throwing under the bus hearsay.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
After killing Stein, Zodiac took his wallet, car keys, and a portion of his shirt. In no other attack did Zodiac take items from his victims. It is a matter of fact that Zodiac did indeed prove he was Stein's killer, and he did so by including scraps of Stein's bloody shirt in his subsequent taunting letters to the news media. So after he said, I'm going to prove to you that I am the Zodiac by going to San Francisco and killing this guy, and this is the only time he took something from the victim to prove that he did it.
Right.
And his letters.
Okay.
So,
maybe
again, more coincidental, but
not proven.
Not necessarily proven.
Yeah. Coincidental.
One such letter was postmarked November 9th of 1969 and contained a bomb diagram.
Hold on, but still, okay, sorry. 1 second. They didn't come up with that until 1991 when Spinelli actually told the police, yeah, this guy I really hate said he was going to kill a cabbie, and well, guys, not saying he did it, but I mean, it's coincidental.
I mean, yeah,
a cabbie died.
Like, I don't know, man.
Nope. I'm just not. No,
we still got a lot more about him.
I don't believe.
So, one such letter was postmarked November 9th, 1969 and contained a bomb diagram. Ingredients for the bomb included ammonium nitrate, fertilizer, and gravel. Zodiac claimed in the letter that the bomb was being stored in his basement and that his, quote, killing tools were required through mail order outfits.
Okay.
In 1991, the search warrant executed by Vallejo Police Department revealed Allen had in his basement handwritten diagrams for bombs comprised of ammonium nitrate, fertilizer, and gravel. Also found were mail-in order catalogs for bombs, guns, and booby traps.
Okay, so what is weird is the handwritten diagrams, but what I think is less weird is the books because there's a lot of weird people out there. Not even weird people, just people interested in bombs
But
and guns and stuff.
you
It
mean to
is,
tell me
yeah,
that the Zodiac just happened to mail a letter with a bomb diagram that Alan just so
right, yeah. No,
happened
what I'm
to
saying is like,
also
yeah,
have?
that's a believable thing. But
So, this timeline is based on official police reports, social security records, employment applications, motor vehicle records, and testimony from friends and law enforcement officials. Like I said, the Zodiac Killer website people, they did their
oh
research.
yeah, I
They
bet.
managed to pull all this stuff up.
It's just crazy that they have all this information and it's still not
Yeah,
solved.
crazy. On December 18th, 1933, Arthur Lee Allen was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. Allen was reared in Vallejo, California, and was graduated from Vallejo High in 1950. It is suspected that Zodiac had very close ties to Vallejo, most likely as a resident. From 1948 to 57, Allen attended Vallejo College, majoring in liberal arts. He received his Associate of Arts degree in 1957. From 1951 to 52, Allen worked as a lifeguard at the Plunge in Vallejo. In 1953, Allen worked as a sailmaker at Mare Island Naval Shipyard in Vallejo, California. 1954 to 1960, Allen attended Cal Poly State College in San Luis Obispo, California. That's an annoying name. Majoring in elementary education. He received his bachelor's degree in 1960. In 1957, Allen enlisted in the U.S. Navy. Zodiac was thought to have an affiliation with the military, most likely the Navy. June 15th, 1958, Allen was arrested by the Vallejo Police Department for disturbing the peace as the result of an altercation with acquaintance Ralph Spinelli. The charges were dismissed on July 8th, 1958. Zodiac demonstrated an animosity toward the police. It could have stemmed from a perceived mistreatment.
Okay.
December 1958, Allen was discharged from the Navy. 1959 to 1962, Allen, attempting to gain his teaching credential, was hired by Santa Rosa Elementary in
A Tiscardio.
Atascardio,
Oh no no
Adero,
no 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 no.
Atascadero, California.
Atascadero. Yeah.
These names, man.
Atascadero.
In 1962 to 1963, Allen taught at Travis Elementary, Travis Air Force Base, California. He was eventually fired for having a loaded weapon in his car on school grounds. 1964 to 1965, Allen was incapacitated with a, quote, severely lacerated leg, allegedly the result of a motorcycle accident.
Okay.
1966 to 1968, Allen taught at Valley Springs Elementary in Valley Springs, California. His teaching career ended when he was fired for molesting a student. In December of 1968, Allen's mother, Bernice, gave him a Zodiac watch as a gift. According to Allen's brother, Ron, the watch was received in December of 1967. On
Weird.
January of 1969, Allen allegedly confided in John Chaney that he intended to kill couples at random, threaten school children in taunting letters to the police, and call himself Zodiac.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. April 4th, 1969, living back at home with his parents, Allen was terminated from his part time job at a gas station in Vallejo where he had worked for approximately 6 months. In August 1971, Allen was described by his former employer as being, quote, undependable with a drinking problem. In addition, Allen was said to be, quote, too interested in small girls.
Ugh,
So,
that's
little
gross.
creepy. In July 1969, shortly after the murder of Darlene Ferran, a relative of the victim informed investigators that Darlene had a relationship of some sort with a man named, quote, Lee,
Okay.
spelled Lee.
Yeah.
During the 1969 to 70 school year, Allen was employed part time as a janitor at Elmer Cave Elementary School in Vallejo.
Don't let this man near children.
Right, honestly. During Allen's stint at Cave, Zodiac wrote letters threatening school children. October 6th, 1969, Allen was questioned by Detective John Lynch of Vallejo Police Department regarding the murder of Cecilia Shepard at Lake Berryessa. It is unknown who turned Allen in as a suspect or why. Allen later admitted that when asked by Lynch where he was on September 27th, 1969, Allen had said, I was going to go to Lake Berryessa, but I went up the coast instead. So,
Hmm.
there's so much. It's a lot of dates.
Right.
October 10th, 1969, Allen supposedly told Ralph Spinelli he would soon be, quote, going to San Francisco to kill a cabbie. Zodiac would later taunt San Francisco Chronicle columnist Marco Spinelli in a letter postmarked July 8th, 1974.
Right.
1970 to 1974. Allen attended Sonoma State College, majoring in biological sciences with a minor in chemistry. He completed all academic requirements in 1974, but did not receive his Bachelor's of Science degree until after July of 1981.
Yeah.
During Allen's stint at Sonoma State, the Zodiac murders apparently ceased. However, the Sonoma co-ed killings began. According to retired Special Agent Jim Silver of the California Department of Justice, if you map where the co-eds were last seen and where they were found later found dead, Allen's trailer would be directly in the center.
Oh.
Eventually, many other murders were suspected of being the work of Zodiac. One investigator theorized that Zodiac was choosing crime scenes to form a giant Z.
What? Okay.
So
That's
again,
creepy.
another just so happens
Right.
to be in the area.
Yeah. Okay.
March 17th, 1971, Allen's father, Ethan, died at age 67. Ethan was a retired, highly decorated naval commander. Ethan Allen died on what could have been Darlene Ferran's 24th birthday. When Allen became a suspect, this was looked at with suspicion.
Okay. Okay.
Summer of 1971, Allen was employed as a junior chemist at an oil refinery in Pinole, California. July 15th, 1971. The Manhattan Beach Police Department was contacted by Allen's former friend to whom Allen allegedly made the incriminating statements in January 1968.
Right.
July 19th, 1971. A report was prepared by the MBPD for Inspector Toshi of the San Francisco Police Department. July 27th, 1971. San Francisco Police Department inspectors Dave Toshi and Bill Armstrong, along with Special Agent Mel Nikolai, traveled to Vallejo to meet with Sergeant Jack Molinax of the Vallejo Police Department regarding Allen. It was decided that more background information on Allen would be obtained before any contact would be made with him. Molinax immediately began investigating Allen. August 4th, 1971. Molinax, Toshi, and Armstrong interviewed Allen at his place of employment in Pinole, California. The last authenticated Zodiac letter had been mailed in March 1971, just a few months earlier. However, after Allen's interview by police, it would be 2.5 years before Zodiac would write again. September 14th, 1972, San Francisco Police Department obtained a search warrant against Allen and made him submit handwriting samples. Detectives found several bizarre items during the search, but nothing that would incriminate Allen in the Zodiac crimes. On September 27th, 1974, Allen was arrested by the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department on a charge of child molesting. Zodiac had written several times in 1974, breaking a 2.5-year silence. However, no authenticated Zodiac letter was ever received again after Allen's arrest.
Ever again, yeah. Coincidentally.
March 14th, 1975. After pleading guilty, Allen began serving his sentence at a Atascadero State Hospital. August 31st, 1977. Allen completed his sentence and was released. January 3rd, 1978. Allen was hired as a fleet mechanic by Benicia Import Auto Service in Benicia, California. This employment ended on March 3rd, 1978, apparently due to a slowdown in business. July 25th, 1978 through 1987. Allen found sporadic employment in Vallejo, including a stint as an aide to senior citizens. Allen also worked at Ace Hardware on Tennessee Street for several years as a buyer for the tool and garden departments. January 10th, 1989, Bernice Allen died at age 83.
His mom.
February 14th, 1991, the Vallejo Police Department executed a search warrant against Allen and found a huge cache of weapons. Allen's probation terms didn't disallow owning weapons. In rage of the search, Allen began granting interviews with the news media to proclaim his innocence and blast the police. There was a huge amount of circumstantial evidence against Allen, including Ralph Spinelli coming forward with Allen's incriminating statements of October 10th, 1969.
I feel like it's all circumstantial. I mean, there are some things that are like
That's
okay, like with all
substantial.
the murders and stuff, but
August 1st, 1991, Allen gave an interview to the Fairfield Daily Republic in which he claimed to have consulted with attorney Melvin Belly. Zodiac had written a letter to Belly in December 1969. July 1992, definite Zodiac victim Mike Mago picked Allen out of a police photo lineup saying, "That's him, he's the man who shot me."
Right.
August 26, 1992, Arthur Lee Allen died of natural causes at age 58. He had been suffering from diabetes and heart problems.
So I get that they're both circumstantial, but it wasn't as convincing as the first.
So you think Gaikowski did it?
I'm really convinced Gaikowski did it.
I
Like even
think I think
even
out
more
of the 4
so.
possible suspects, Gajkowski and Allen are the most likely,
Right, definitely, most likely both of them.
but
I
unfortunately, they're all dead, so
right, yeah. Um,
they got away with it for the most part.
yeah, if it was them, yeah. I don't know. Like they're both circumstantial. I just feel that more closely related is the guy Kowski because I still can't get over that cipher, and he was all about his ciphers and like quote unquote trying to name himself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But the whole murder trail for the second, Alan,
Yeah.
the whole murder trail for him, I think for me is also convincing. So it's kind of a toss up, but I really believe it was Gaikowski,
Oh, yeah.
uh, of the two. I don't know.
Like I said, the
That's a
most
crazy
likely believed
case,
one
yeah.
is Allen. There's tons of information on him.
Right.
Because with Gajkowski, there's a lot of, like, things that he does that directly points, whereas
Mhm.
with Allen, he just seems to be at the wrong place at the wrong time all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah. Which is a thing
which
that could
it could
happen. Yeah.
happen,
I
but
don't
it's
know.
oddly specific.
It is. Yeah. I'll give you that. I don't know. I mean, of the two, my most highly suspect of them is Gaikowski. Alan is a very close second, but
Yeah. So,
less
all
though.
right. And with that, that is the unsolved case of the Zodiac Killer. So if
Big
you,
hitter.
oh yeah,
Big
big
hitter.
hitter. Our first big hitter, actually. All of them have been relatively small cases.
Except for the hotel.
Yeah, H.H. Holmes.
Yeah, I don't know why I always forget his name.
I
H. H.
mean,
Holmes.
yeah,
He's not as big of a
he's not as
he's
big as like the
yeah.
Zodiac or like
Right.
that, but he's definitely up there. I would say this is the very first, like,
Yeah.
if you talk about it, people are
Notable
gonna know about
yeah.
it.
100%.
If you like this episode, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're on our YouTube. Our podcast is available on Spotify, so be sure to follow us on that. Apple Podcast, go ahead and please leave a review. We would like to know if there's any improvements we need to make, or if you have any suggestions, things like that. You can find us at pretty much any place where you can get podcasts at this point.
Yeah.
Please follow us on social media to stay up to date on new episodes and for any new news. We have a Twitter. You can find us there at What Sleep Pod. Instagram, where we'll post a bunch of pictures and behind the scenes kind of things. You can find us there at What Sleep Podcast. We do have a subreddit. You can find us there at What Sleep Podcast. And we do have a Facebook at What Sleep Podcast. So again, please follow us there to stay up to date with anything.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
We will. Bye.
Bye.